And so if you have score predictions for Indiana and Notre Dame, get those in as well. I will star those, and we will have those as well. But Zach, this is a game, Indiana, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's favored by 7.5. You and I, when we both did our predictions initially without much thought about the game, we just kind of picked them real quick. We both
Hmm.
picked Indiana in this game, thinking that there is a good chance that Signetti could kind of figure things out. And Notre Dame has not played a whole lot of prolific passing offenses, and that could be a damper on Notre Dame here. However, you are looking at similar stuff with the weather. So, is the weather going to impact Indiana's passing attack? We just had that conversation, so you can refer
Hmm.
back to that for our thoughts there. But overall, I think that this is a game where both teams haven't played the toughest schedule in the world. Indiana
Hmm.
lost their big game to Ohio State. Notre Dame won their big game against against Texas A&M. Now Notre Dame lost probably one of their worst games to Northern Illinois, and Indiana has just destroyed every single team that came to them that was unranked, other than Michigan. So I mean, this is a kind of a really interesting situation here, Zach. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think honestly, it's really hard to figure out just how good Notre Dame is. Sagarin has them rated as the number one team in the country.
Mm.
And I think many people would say they're the hottest team in the country, and they're the team you don't want to play. And like I tend to agree with them, but then I'm like, man, but who have they played? And I know that that's the same argument as Indiana, but I'm like, Indiana's played Ohio State and Michigan, which I know Michigan's not great, but their defensive line is great. And that game could have been more in favor of Indiana, if not for a couple of key drops by Elijah Surratt. So I I think I am just I'm not sure what to make of Notre Dame. Like, how good are they really in the trenches, right? Even the Texas A&M game, like Texas A&M's 8-4. Like, I know they went to Texas A&M, but it was also when Connor Wagaman was still the quarterback, and he was not good. And so you had a non-functional offense that they played in the beginning of the year. You have an upset loss to Northern Illinois, and then you have a bunch of teams who are like 8-4 or worse that you beat up on, or name Navy and Army, who like are good. They're a good group of five teams, but I just don't know what to make of them. And I think they're one dimensional, but that one dimension's really good. Like, they run the ball maybe better than anybody in the country. And Jeremiah Love is a stud running back, right? I think he's averaging close to 7 yards a carry. So like I think they're dynamic. I think they're talented. I just I don't know how good they are. And I think you combine that with my questions about Indiana, and I'm like, this feels like the most. Uh, I have the most questions about this game. I feel like the one thing that's clear, and I don't think Indiana fans are going to like me saying this. I think the team that has the best shot against Georgia is Notre Dame, because I think Notre Dame has the edge, at least to some degree, on the lines, and I think they can run on anybody.
You think Notre Dame can run on anybody? You said,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
Notre Dame can run on anybody.
I mean, Riley Leonard definitely makes that running attack incredibly potent, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to be able to run the ball with your the quarterback and have a star running back like they do in Jeremiah Love. I don't think Indiana really has a punisher on the defense that can kind of make Riley Leonard think twice about running. Obviously, you can always get the play like what happened to Will Howard in that Michigan game where, which it was not targeting. I know I've heard some people say, oh, it's targeting. It's not targeting. It's just a play. It's unfortunate he got hit in the head, but
Mhm.
let's not call everything targeting nowadays.
No.
But like that situation could possibly happen. Obviously, we don't want it to happen. We want both these teams at full strength, but this is a situation where Riley Leonard should be able to run the ball throughout the game, and Curtis Rourke is going to have to find a way to be comfortable in the pocket in this one. You have a little bit of shades of Ohio State here, right? Other teams' home stadium. You have a good pass rush that Notre Dame has here that could possibly get to the quarterback, an experienced defensive coordinator who could kind of maybe scheme some things up and maybe confuse the Indiana offensive line. That was one of the biggest things. The Indiana offensive line, I said it before, like they did a pretty good job in run blocking. Now they didn't get to the second level quite as well, and they lost
Mm-hmm.
some of their blocks to kind of like Fisherman is saying here. You know, they couldn't hold on to some of their blocks long enough for the running back to get to the next level, and they weren't exactly getting to the second level every time. So that is an issue, but the biggest thing for me is the pass protection. Are you going to be able to identify? Can you have a clap? Can you have something? Like, this is going to be a game where it's very, very important for
Mm-hmm.
Indiana to have their fans be there, showing up and making sure that they do not allow Notre Dame fans to be so loud that you have to go to a silent count. Now, I will also say if they do have to go to a silent count, thankfully for Indiana, they have experience in this now, right? When you get to a silent count, I'm sure most people know this, but if anybody doesn't know this, when you get to a silent count, the way that you hike the ball is everybody on the offensive line looks at the ball, even the tackles. They look at the ball. The way you counteract that is right before the ball is snapped, you run your blitzers up to the line of scrimmage, and then that way the offensive line has no idea where the blitz is coming from. You can also line your edge rushers up further outside the tackles, so that way they're trying to react by turning their head over to find the edge rusher, right? Because they're trying to look at the ball. It's a huge factor if you cannot figure out how to have a silent count that works well, and if you're not able to have a well trained offensive line to look for the blitzes and stuff and maybe fake some silent counts. So I know that's kind of, football 101. Some of you were like, JR, we didn't need that explanation. I apologize if you didn't, but I wanted to make sure if anybody did. But anyway, that whole situation, I think Indiana is in a better spot here. And like I said before, anytime Notre Dame has faced a potent passing offense, they have struggled. Brendan
Mm-hmm.
Morrison is not in that secondary anymore. They don't have a shutdown corner. Now, they still have a good secondary, don't get me wrong, but they don't have a shutdown corner in Brendan Morrison anymore. And as much as you talked about with the Indiana wide receivers throwing the fade and stuff like that to him, they couldn't do that. To me, the biggest thing here is not just the line of scrimmage for Indiana, but pass blocking. Can you figure out how to pass block? Can you figure out the tendencies of this Notre Dame defense that's going to be trying to get after the quarterback as much as they possibly can? And can you throw the ball? We saw USC do it. We saw Louisville do it. Both those teams did it and did it. Was Louisville? It was Louisville, correct?
Yeah, Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville.
We saw both those teams do it, and they gave Notre Dame a good fight. Now Notre Dame outscored them, but this is a situation where Indiana they have a pretty good defense. I mean, their rushing yards per game, opponents' rushing yards per game. You look at it over there; it's first, only 70 yards. I mean, the next closest team is like 83 yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Indiana not played the best schedule in the world. I get it. But still, they stopped Ohio State. Ohio State had less sack adjusted rushing yards than Indiana did in that game. So this is a team that can stop the run. And if they're going to be able to figure out how to stop Riley Leonard and throw the ball well, get the offensive line to pass protect, Indiana very well could win this game.
To be fair, Ohio State can't really run the ball right now. So,
Well, that's true.
but I think I think that is, it's an interesting thought because I think Notre Dame's strength is Indiana's strength, right? Like, so it's strength on strength. You've got,
Yep,
I think
strong on strong.
one of the best, if not the best, rushing attack for Notre Dame. You have the best running defense, rush defense by the numbers with the Hoosiers. And I think that's key. I appreciate you bringing up the crowd because I am of the opinion that I don't think this home field is going to matter at all. Like, I think Indiana Hoosier fans, this is the most excited they've been uh, maybe ever about their team. And this is not a long drive. I think it's a 2-hour drive for them to get to South Bend. It's not far. They're going to go. They can literally travel there and drive back that same night. It'll be a late night, but they can literally do that. And so I would not be shocked if it's like a 60-40 split because it's like it's an easy drive there. And I think that's going to really help Indiana in this game.
I agree. I agree. All right, let's get to some score predictions. I will give mine. We'll go through some of the chats, and then Zach will let you give yours last this time. All right.
Okay.
Listen, when I did it for Penn State, I picked Penn State with my heart. It didn't work out well for me. Now I think that game was closer than people anticipated, and I think I made a lot of good points in that one, and people were surprised a little bit by Penn State playing so well. But I think in this one, I need to pick with my head and not with my heart. And I am going to pick Notre Dame. I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win this one 45-42. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I know the cold,
Ooh.
but this is how every Notre Dame game has gone with a team with a passing attack, right? I mean, this is how they've gone. So, and again, like I said, some of these big matchup games, they've really turned into high scoring games. So I know it's a little strange with the cold weather and stuff like that. You think they'll be lower scoring, but I, I think both of these offenses are going to keep scoring. I think they're going to be a lot of big plays in this one, and I think Notre Dame is eventually going to come out on top. But I would not be surprised at all if Indiana wins this game. All right, let me do some chat scores really fast. All right, I started some people twice. I apologize. John said Indiana 31-28, so he's lower scoring than me, but he's got Indiana winning. Sam has Indiana 24, Notre Dame 17. John says, trust me on this one. Indiana 24, Notre Dame 21. Philip also has Indiana. Wow, everybody's picking Indiana in this one.
Do you know how many
21-20.
Indiana fans are in the chat, John?
I know,
JR?
I know. Oh, I already brought John up. There we go. Indiana 38, Notre Dame 20. Boy, you have no idea how happy that would make me. I like Indiana. I cannot stand Notre Dame. That would make me so happy. Yeah. Zach, what's your score prediction?
So I came in thinking I would pick Notre Dame.
Are we going to reverse here?
I am going to reverse.
No way. You were the Indiana hater all year.
I know. I hated them so much that I've been openly rooting for them everywhere.
John's calling a bluff. He said Zach's going to pick Notre Dame. No, he's actually going to pick Kent State. If you don't know, it's
no, not Kent.
With us
yeah,
and John.
Yeah. I'm going to go Indiana 38-27. I think Indiana's efficiency is going to be a major factor in this game. And I think we talked about Xavier Watts, who's a really good safety for Notre Dame. But I think something that Notre Dame does not have, and you brought it up, and I'd forgotten that they don't have this, is Benjamin Morrison on the outside. You know where Notre Dame loves to live is those back shoulder fades. Mm-hmm. Ohio State has long corners.
As they have time in the pocket, as long as they protect Rourke long enough. Sorry, go ahead.
And I think Notre Dame's defense is good. I don't think they have the caliber of defensive line that Ohio State or Michigan has. I think they will have time, and I think they will be able to run a little bit to get at least enough of play action that they will be able to score. And I think they'll get enough stops with Notre Dame that it's going to be a 2-score lead all night. And I think that actually gets Notre Dame out of their game. I think Notre Dame should be favored. I think Notre Dame is probably the better team. But the pathway for victory for Indiana is to get up early and then force Notre Dame out of their game plan. Because if you get Riley Leonard in a place where he has to throw, they're not going to win. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Indiana's going to shock Notre Dame early. They're not going to be surprised. They have played better teams than Notre Dame. And I think Indiana is going to shock the world.
Better teams or better team?
Well, I'll say they played a better team in Ohio State, and I think they played a far superior defensive line in Michigan.
Okay. All right. I do think that Notre Dame's experience with their defensive coordinator, I forget his name. Is it Golden? Is that his name?
Al Golden. Al Golden.
Yeah. I do think his experience in this one is going to be important. Now I know I just picked Indiana to score 42 points. So but A lot of these games come down to, can you get a stop at the end of the game? Can you stop an offense? Can you get the pressure to make a stop when you need it the most? And we'll see. We'll see if Notre Dame can get it. Like I said, I really, really want to pick Notre Dame, but I feel like the smart pick. I really, really want
You
to pick
want to pick?
Indiana.
You want to pick Notre Dame?
No, I don't want to pick Notre Dame, but I feel like the smart pick is Notre Dame. But maybe I'm wrong. You guys are all picking Indiana. So listen, I would love nothing more than to be wrong on this one.
Listen,
Well, I guess I would love to be wrong if I picked Tennessee to beat Ohio State. More on that soon. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
I was gonna say Philip is accusing me of sucking up to the chat. I am. It's fair, but I do think they're gonna win.
It's okay. Our Penn State friends have accused me of that multiple times.